Hi guys, so today I am reviewing, this is the facelifted version of the second generation BMW X1. So the X1, well, this was one of BMW's earlier efforts in the front-wheel drive UKL platform. All right, but before that, they already had, before this model was launched in 2015, 2016, they already had the 2 Series Active Tourer and the 2 Series Grand Tourer. But this one, this X1 here, this was the first model that that previously had a rear-wheel drive based predecessor that transitioned to a transverse engine front-wheel drive based setup. All right, and the original X1, when I remember when it was first launched in 2010. That sort of opened up a new segment, because BMW before that, their entry-level model was the X3, but they moved the X3 up market, so that left the gap, and the original X1 came in to fill. Now at that time, with the first X1, what BMW did was they were on the verge of launching the F30 Generation 3 series, but they took the old E90 platform, jacked it up, and voila, you have the X1. So and well, that X1 was a bit of a polarizing choice, because it was based on the E90 platform, so it was great to drive, but at the same time, the quality of that car, the interior build quality of that car was quite suspect. And also, if you take the diesel model, which had all-wheel drive, you get supernatural levels of grip. And I mean supernatural, because I remember when I drove the diesel model on Karak Highway, it just kept asking you to tekan, and it never seemed to run out of grip. So the handling of the first gen X1 was phenomenal, but otherwise, as an SUV, as a crossover, you know, as a workhorse, as a family vehicle, it was distinctly average. And yeah, the interior really was not what you would expect of a premium car. Now with this X1, when BMW first launched this X1 in 2015, 2016, they flipped the script entirely. The only thing that they really carried forward from the previous X1 really was just a badge, and that was it, because well, as I said earlier, this was based on the UKL platform, and driving wise, right, if you compare this with the previous X1, no contest, the previous X1 was way better to drive, but as an SUV, as a vehicle carrying a premium badge, and if you would like, as a junior family vehicle, it does a fairly good job at it, because I observed at that time, right, because freed from the shackles and space constraints of a rear-wheel drive based platform with a tall center tunnel and all that, BMW packaged this X1 in terms of its space packaging, the interior of this car, very, very efficiently. But where the handling and the dynamics are concerned, this is nowhere near as engaging to drive as earlier generation BMWs that we are more familiar with. In fact, the wisdom at the time was that the X1, you cannot look at this. If you are an existing BMW owner, if you've come from, say, even the say an E90 or F30 or any of the early generation X3s, or you know, the E39, all those early BMWs, right? You come to this, you find yourselves really at odds with the driving experience because it's so unfamiliar. But as a conquest vehicle, as a car to introduce new buyers to the BMW brand, it is very, very effective. Okay, so that was the overall premise of this second generation F1, the F48 F1. Now, at that time when it was first launched, CBU, the F48 X1 initially was priced at about 280,000 ringgit, and it only had one variant on sale, which is the front-wheel drive sDrive20i, 2-liter B48 engine, all right, 190 horsepower. Now, then later when they locally assembled the X1, price dropped to about 230,000 ringgit. Just like that, because it enjoyed EEV incentives. There was also a brief period where they had the sDrive20i. That would be the diesel variant with all-wheel drive, but I don't think they sold that many units of it. I hardly ever see any on the road. In fact, I've not seen one on Muda or Cardis or anything on the lot for that matter. So most units of the X1 in Malaysia mechanically would be the sDrive20i, 190 horsepower, and that mechanical configuration is preserved going into this facelifted variant that is now also enhanced with the offering of an M Sport package. Yeah, so the X1 here gets M Sport body, M Sport suspension, all right, and it's sort of like you get new lights and all that. So and also an uplifted interior, which I will bring you on a walk around later on. So now, when the original X1 was launched, BMW brought in to open up a whole new segment of the market. But now, this generation of the X1 deals with a far more crowded market space. We now have the GLA, which is sort of like taking a break, between new model generations. Mercedes is also launching the new GLB, which I personally am very excited to see to arrive in the market, because I rather like that, like its design. It's unashamedly rugged kind of design. Recently, we also reviewed the Audi Q3, which is in isolation a competent vehicle, but too highly priced and too lowly spec'd to be seriously deemed competitive. Then, of course, we have the XC40, the Volvo XC40, which hands down really is in my opinion, the segment leader. All right. So, but where does it leave the X1 now? Next to the X1, next to the XC40, I would say the X1 is the next best choice in the segment. In fact, it definitely is the best value buy of the segment. You're talking about, it's a full 10,000 cheaper, 20,000 cheaper than the XC40. All right, but of course you also get a lower level of specification as tested here. This is the 190 horsepower 20i variant. The XC40 gives you 254 horsepower. Not only that, the XC40 comes fully equipped with the latest advanced driver assist features. This one only warns you of an impending collision, but you still have to step on the brake pedal yourself. All right. In terms of driving dynamics, well, the previous Gen X1 was definitely the segment leader in terms of ride and in terms of handling, but well, this one has lost some of that edge a bit, and it means that the XC40, also with the help of all-wheel drive, also I would say is perhaps is perhaps the best driving car in the segment as well. So the X1 here next to the XC40 competes most keenly perhaps on price as well as available interior space, because the interior of the X1 here is not as well finished as the Volvo, but it is also a more spacious car than the XC40. So perhaps the XC40 is more engaging to drive if you are going up Genting Highlands or coming down, but if you are looking to ferry a grown-up family of 4 adults, this actually may turn out to be a better answer. But if you were to evaluate this X1 here entirely on its own, 230,000 ringgit for what is on offer is perhaps not too bad value, because yes, the XC40 is better in most respects, but this car is not half bad. I mean, it drives well enough, the engine gives decent enough performance, the ride is a bit firm because of its M Sport suspension setup, but far from what I would call uncomfortable. Pulling out from a standstill, the engine does feel a bit strained when you push it all the way to the top end, but mid-range acceleration, it's more than sufficient for your day-to-day use. Okay, now one major change, mechanical change of the X1, but this was already implemented before the facelift, was that somewhere along the line, BMW quietly swapped out the old 8-speed ICIN gearbox. Now don't confuse the 8-speed ICIN gearbox with the 8-speed ZF gearbox. Okay, the ZF gearbox is only used for the rear-wheel drive cars, your X3s, your 3 Series, your 5 Series and all that. The transverse engine setup here in the X1 does not use the 8-speed ZF gearbox. It previously used an 8-speed ICIN gearbox that I believe is also the same one that you find in the XC40. But now BMW decided to ditch that and swapped in a 7-speed DCT. Okay, so now I am on the well, past the Puchunto on LDP. So the suspension, you can see it transfers quite a fair bit of undulations into the cabin, but it's just about pliant enough to still keep all 4 wheels on the ground. Okay, so I'm exiting the highway, the Cloverleaf Bend. Alright. Steers well enough, but it doesn't have that supernatural levels of grip that the previous generation X1 with X-Drive gives you. That car is just, it's insane. That previous gen X1 is insane in terms of its sheer grip levels. But yeah, as I was coming back to what I said earlier about the transmission, thus far this 7-speed DCT does not exhibit any of the unpleasant sides of dual clutch transmissions. In fact, it behaves pretty much like a normal automatic transmission. So now I'm taking another sweeping bend. Oh, nice. Nice. Good enough. Really good enough. Yeah, definitely more engaging to drive than the Audi Q3. Slightly less convincing than the XC40. Not as sharp or agile as the previous Gen X1, but definitely a far better all-rounder. Yeah, ride is firm, but just enough compliance to not feel jarring. So right now, the advanced driver assist systems in this car consist only of collision warning, pedestrian detection, and lane departure warning. So it's all warning, no assist. But we were informed that this year BMW Malaysia will progressively bring in higher higher levels of advanced driver assist in their cars. So like most recently we reviewed the G20 320i. The test car that we drove did not have AEB, but the new batches that if you walk into a BMW showroom now and buy a G20 320i, you will have AEB. So it's only a matter of time before they add this into the X1. Hey guys, so this is the X1 facelift M Sport from the outside, sDrive20i. So this is priced 230,000 ringgit thereabouts. Now of course recently they have also added the new 1.5 liter 3-cylinder sDrive18i that gives you about 140 horsepower, but such is the price difference between the 18i and this. Chances are, I believe most people, even if you went into the showroom looking at the 18i's sticker price, most of you would probably be tempted to upgrade to this instead. Okay, so yeah, so you can even if without the M Sport package, you can tell this from the pre-facelift model. All right, the tail light cluster is now different. You've got LED illumination. Okay, and well, with the M Sport body, you can see you have this gray painted section here. So like diffuser treatment that almost covers more than half of the real estate on the bumper. So you get M Sport rims, all right, and of course all the lower body claddings, all right, as contrast to the non-M Sport model. This one is body color painted. If it's in the non-M Sport model, it's unpainted for a more rugged appearance. Okay, so the M Sport setup gets you 225/50 R18 tires at the front, and uniform tire size. So this rear is the same tire size, unlike the case with it. If it's a rear-wheel drive BMW M Sport setup, definitely the rear tires will be wider than the front. So here, this is the new front end, and you can see they've given it the high spec headlight, LED headlight, with this hexagonal design. So funnily enough, the X1 here has a a more impressive looking headlight than the 3 Series and also the X3. All right, so down here the lower part, this is a very large, well, sort of vent. Now here's the interesting thing. You look from here, head on, it's covered, but as you look up from this angle, you can see there are holes in there which allow air in. All right, so you have a gloss black finish here, and the parking sensor is neatly integrated in here as well. LED front fog lamps. All right, and you can see here the front grille now is joined at the hip, much like the newer generation BMWs. Okay, so you can see also the window line is now fully darkened. All right, if it's non-M Sport, this would have been chrome, but it's darkened. This is also in gloss black as well. So let's open up the boot. Got power opening, nice. And oh yeah, actually the sDrive18i also had power opening. You've got reverse camera. Okay, here's a 12-volt socket, and you've got a hook here. Nice. So this is the first aid kit, and it has a Velcro here which you can just tampal there. Very, very clever. So you've got you've got a compartment here, you've got a compartment here. This is netted, and underneath here no spare tire, so you've got another hidden compartment in here as well. All right, no remote release latch for the folding seats, so you have to fold the seats down from inside, and here you pull this, it drops. So there's a bit of a gap here, but at least you know it meets at the same level, so you don't have a rock. You don't think if you put a large object here, it doesn't rock about. All right. Let me just get inside here. So this also doubles as recline adjustment. So you've pulled this, it reclines. Now the recline angle here is definitely better than what you get in the Volvo XC40. Now, although thigh support, this bench is still a little short. So obviously, like what we mentioned in the XC40, this is designed for kids, partly with kids in mind, because even family owners of an X1 will, chances are they will be junior families. Kids will be maybe just a 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old. So yeah, they will probably appreciate these shorter benches. Okay, but the trade-off is that you've got good leg room, all right, and actually even if as an adult, the angling of the seat cushion is such that I do get thigh support. It's just that it doesn't reach all the way to the back of my knee. So behind here, you've got aircon vents, you've got 2 USB-C ports, and before I forget, I'm 100 centimeters tall, got wow, more than a fist of headroom, so really very, very spacious back here. And the lean angle of the seat back is it's rather upright, but a bit more relaxing to sit back here compared to the Volvo XC40. All right, so I'm going to close this, and I am going to close the tailgate. Now we come to the cabin. So well, it's not immediately impressive looking, we will have to admit. All right, but they do allow a small degree of flourish. You've got this brushed metal trim here, all right, and with a secondary contrast trim here, which does not contrast anymore because both are silver colored. All right, this trim really stands out if this were to spec with a wood or a carbon fiber trim. Okay, and you can see here, this strip here, this is for the ambient lighting. Okay, so you can come here, this is the instrument cluster. It is a conventional analog instrument cluster, but designed and configured in such a way that to mimic the appearance of a fully digital instrument cluster. It's not. This is a physical dial, this is a physical dial, and the only screen area is actually here. All right, you can press this BC button here, typical of BMWs. Press this BC button here to cycle between the displays in the trip computer, average fuel consumption, average speed, ongoing speed, date, temperature, okay or not. As a BMW owner, not having a temperature gauge, it can be a bit scary. Oh wait, hang on. But once you set to temperature gauge mode, it actually, okay, like it does show you the temperature here, but at the sacrifice of your odometer. So you have to choose which one you want to see. This is the M Sport steering. It comes complete with paddle shifters, and over here you can see you get a reverse camera, but that's about it. Good news is good resolution. All right, and you press this button here. Okay, first let me deactivate the reverse camera. So this shows you the intelligent safety menu. As you can see here, you've got collision warning, pedestrian alert, lane departure warning. That's it. Okay, so this is the iDrive screen, and the display area of the iDrive screen does occupy the full real estate of this screen area here. All right, so this is familiar, and like all recent BMWs, it is touch sensitive. The moment you touch this button, the car detects it and it shows you the selection on the screen. All right, climate control, this is all very familiar from previous generation BMW cabins. All right, so here you can see you've got a decently deep storage area that's lidded. All right, down here, this is the electronic shifter of the dual clutch transmission. Drive mode selection, got 2 blank buttons here. No auto hold. This car doesn't come with auto hold. Wow, okay, that's a bit of a surprise, especially for a dual clutch transmission car. Or did I not see this properly and it has to be somewhere inside the iDrive? No, really, it does not have auto hold. Surprise, surprise. Okay, anyways, down here you've got a regular USB port here. All right, and this armrest opens up to give you another small storage compartment. So in terms of storage solutions, it's there. Okay, of course not Honda level there, but not too bad. All right, basically what you have here, this interior really is not furnished to the standards of the Volvo XC40. If you sit in the XC40 and you sit into this, XC40 easily feels 50k, 60k, a full segment more expensive. This one is practical, it's well built. Actually, if you think of it, the Audi Q3 in comparison also feels more expensive than this. The BMW here, this has always been a traditional BMW weakness. All right, in terms of the perceived value of their cabins. But the flip side is that the construction looks good. All right, there are no uneven gaps. Right, the panels all feel solidly screwed together. But yeah, it just does not really look that premium in my opinion. All right, but otherwise it's a decently functional cabin, and easy, and like past generation BMWs, fantastic clarity, fantastic usability, easy to learn. Okay, so but one thing, that another pet peeve to me in most modern cars. As I always say, this lock and unlock button, you either put it here along the center console, or you put one on each door. Okay, simple. This scenario, I've said it over and over again. If you stop somewhere, you've got a passenger in your front, you get down and do your thing, you come back, how's your passenger going to reach across? Your passenger will have to reach across to unlock your door. And in this case, in the case of the X1 here, you have to go through the steering to get through the button. Okay, so the verdict on the X1 here, simply put, the XC40 in this segment is still the class leader, no doubt about it. But the X1 comes very close, and I would say it is a very, very good value buy in the context of a premium SUV. So if you were to ask me, would I buy one of these? Not for myself, but if my wife comes and tell me that she would like to buy one, I have no objections, although I would still nudge her towards the direction of the XC40, to be frank. Who would I recommend this car to? Well, now the XC40, it's slightly smaller in terms of its interior space. So if you are a, bachelor, if you are just a married couple without kids, or single woman, buying as a second car in the household, the XC40 is still the more attractive choice. But well, of course, if you have preference for the BMW badge, or if you would like, or if you are a small family, particularly if you are a small family, you need that bit more of space. You've got 2 kids, then this one actually may be the solution for you, all right, a more effective solution for you, all right. But yeah, overall, I would say that in terms of the driving, the XC40 and this one, XC40 drives slightly better, but the X1 here matches it very closely. But overall, the XC40, on account of its more powerful engine, overall design, and most importantly, superior safety features, remains the class leader. The X1 comes second, but I have to say it is a very, very close second indeed.